All right, so we are gonna do Yellowstone National Park today. Videos we've done so far: Grand Canyon, Hawaii volcano, Everglades, and now we were at Yellowstone. This is gonna be so fun. I put together two different scenes. So we have the geyser with the background that's so beautiful. They're really loose. So yeah, let's get started. I have 1 cup of water, the paint palette that I sell on my website, super beautiful colors, and then I have my round tip brush from this set of 6. So this is 12. You can use a smaller size if that's what you're comfortable. I just always opt for slightly bigger. So I'm using the biggest brush that I have in my bundle. So first things first, I want to do the sky because I just love the sky. So what we're gonna do is grab some of this light blue, put it over here in our mixing tray. I'm putting quite a bit of water, as you can see, because I want to be able to do this whole thing without having to grab more. It's not the end of the world, but it is going to be helpful if you have a lot to work with. Okay, I'm rolling up my sleeves. Okay, so we're just going to be working around here, all the same shade. And then we can come in after. Just don't put your paint in the clouds or in the geyser. We'll do those later. I want to know, have you been to Yellowstone? If you have, what was your favorite part? Do you recommend any sites or campgrounds, restaurants? I went when I was younger and I thought it was so fun, apart from it smelling like farts all the time. But I'm really excited to go now that I have my 2 kids. My husband and I really want to start traveling a little bit more to more national parks that are around us because it's only a few hours away. So send me all the recommendations. And if you go there and you have this book and you send me a picture painting while you're there, I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do something because that's really cool. I think it'd be fun to do a competition or something, like whoever can get to the most national parks and paint them and send them to me gets a prize at the end of the year. I think that would be really fun and it would promote traveling more. Man, I should have made more blue. It's already looking really pretty. Okay, so around these trees, you don't want to get super into them, but also the color is gonna be darker. It's like a really dark green. So it's not the end of the world. Like you see, I have already gotten into the trees. So it's not really worth taking the time to get into those intricate spots. I would just say focus on the clouds and then the rest is okay if it gets a little bit messy. Okay, so as you get lower, closer to the horizon line, your sky does become more diluted, and the higher is slightly more dense and darker. So what I'm doing is I still have that same color, and we will mess around with the top in a minute. But once I get this cloud figured out, then I will show you what I'm doing. Oh, you probably can see my head, sorry. I tend to get really close to my page when I'm painting, but I've been working on it because I know that doesn't help you very much. And my back. Okay, so as we get closer to the horizon, we can start. Ooh, I got in that cloud a little bit. Sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. To add more water to what we already have. So like grab your brush, dip it in, grab some paint. And that just dilutes it even just a tiny bit to where there's more water. And that will give you a lighter shade of blue. I think I do need it a little bit more. Same thing, grab the water, kind of pulling that shade down. Okay, now I'm grabbing this darker blue and mixing it in with the blue I already have. I might even grab some of this. Yeah. So we have our deeper blue. And I'm gonna come up here. And just add it in there. I think I'm gonna have it like come down to around here, and then I'll slowly Okay, now I'm gonna start kind of blending it out, and how you do that is you get your clean brush and you dab the water off, but not like significantly, and then you're just kind of brushing those areas that need a little bit of attention. Same thing, see here where you have some of those lines, can just kind of brush them out and move down, and that right there puts that gradient. I'm gonna grab this blue, come up under here as well. I don't want a whole lot, maybe just this around this little cloud, and then clean your brush, blend that out. There we go. Okay, Now we're gonna work on the cloud a little bit and pull from this blue that we made. I'm gonna put more of that middle color in and then some of the red. I want it to be kind of a purpley shade. Maybe even some of this like brick red, because I want it more, slightly more muddy and really diluted. Okay. Let's see what we have. Putting more blue. There we go. Okay. And now I have marked out kind of where the shaded area of that cloud is. So you can kind of just fill it in, but like leave some space for the white to fill in. If it's darker than you want, you can dab your brush, kind of lift it off. And this is what I'm gonna be doing because it is a little bit darker and I don't want those stark lines. So I'm grabbing a clean brush and just like doing a really rough dabbing motion to where those edges are. See how you can lift that line off with your clean brush? That kind of gives it a fluffy feel too. If you want to, you could even grab your paper towel and like dab off some areas while it's still wet. I tend to like to use my brush. All right, and then up here is also going to be shaded. Up into here. And you can leave some white space to show some reflection even in those shaded areas of the cloud. Just like that. Then I'm going to add more blue to a section. And just because I want more color. See how the water kind of just takes it? Using the blue for this bottom one, just so loose, a little bit. I'm using some water to dull it down. There we go. And then same here, just like the bottom bit of the clouds, I'm using this blue. Coming right to the bottom of this, but I'm still being loose to show the fluffiness of the cloud. Okay, and you can even just come in here with some water and mix it up a little bit to where it's not just this like bright white. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna pause on the clouds. We might go back later, but I'm happy with how that is. Even if we wanted to, we could come in here and you would use, I think I would use the same like bluish tone that we were using. Maybe with like a little bit of gray added in and kind of just, as you can see in the reference that I'm showing, it's just kind of like a fluffy look right here. And even this is a little darker, so I am gonna dab that off. But that shade there is great. So I'm using my water. And this left side is gonna have just like that. Cool. Right here is also like some steam. So we'll do this similar thing down here, but I don't want to do that just yet. Okay, so I think we're just gonna move downwards because this is already dry. So let's mix some greens. I think we'll do this back mountain first, and that's like a dark blue green. So I'm adding a little bit of purple, a little bit of blue, and green. Yeah, and if you add brown, that muddies it up quite a bit to maybe the shade that we're thinking. And it is far away, so it's gonna be more diluted. It's not gonna be this super dark mountain. We can always make it darker, but we're gonna start with it being lighter. And we're gonna go like this. I like small vertical strokes. To show that these are trees. And you can leave tiny white spots, but we're not putting a whole lot of detail, to be honest. See that? We're gonna go all the way across that back mountain. Which is looking really pretty already. I'm excited because this area has a lot of like oranges and yellows and purples because it's all sulfur. So that'll be fun to see. Some colors you don't usually see in landscapes. Okay, over here has this mountain range too. So I'm just gonna kind of fill in a little bit of that background. Good. Okay, so while we let that dry, we can work on these trees and maybe even some of these. So let's get this similar green, to be honest, just less diluted and maybe a tiny bit on the foresty green side versus like a neutral. So I'm using the third green from the top, quite a bit of it. Grabbing some purple. And you want to work kind of like small bits at a time until you can understand, because purple will overpower green pretty quickly. Okay, so this is going to be our first color, and then we'll come in with our second. Maybe we'll add more of this in there. So when I do trees, it's already kind of mapped out for you, so you don't need to do anything too crazy. You're just kind of, the top half of the trees go upwards and the bottom half start to kind of move out and down. So I start by just doing, and you want to make sure that your sky is all the way dry so that you can get this effect. So you see how I'm kind of like started up and now it's starting to move down, and I am leaving a little bit of white space. Awesome. Maybe I'll pull from this one this time. And I'm moving around to kind of give the trees some time to dry so they don't all blend together into one. That's something you'll learn with watercolor. You kind of have to jump around and have a lot of patience. Right. Using the very tip of my brush. Some of the trees, as you can see in the outline, have little trunks that you can see kind of majority of the way up. So I'm giving that some space. Not that you need to, because you can just do brown right over top of this green. Okay, I think there's a few little trees I'm doing over here and here. Same thing over here. These ones are further away, so they can be even more loose if you choose to. Okay. Okay, so this foreground is like a, kind of almost like a dead grass. So I'm gonna add some of this yellow to the green. Okay. It is pretty diluted, but this is gonna be all this here up into this line. Ooh, that's a pretty color. Getting right up into those trees. There's a little bit of like a gray, green towards down here. That can even come under the trees. So it looks like there's a shadow, because that's quite a bit of trees. I would imagine the sun isn't hitting that very well. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna let that dry, and then you can come in with the trunks. But I think we can get going on this area here. So this spot is all like shaded from the sun. So I think I'm gonna do adding that stuff to this brown to that purple that we had. If you don't have it, then just mix this purple or this brown and this purple together. And that'll be a really great base. So I forgot that this right here is like some clouds. So if this happens to you ever, and you're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, hurry and grab your brush, kind of scrub at it, and then dab it off. And that gets a good amount of the paint off. Not perfect, but really close. So now we go up above instead of going in the cloud. All the way up here. Okay, and then there is some like random like rocky parts over here that you can just be, I'll have my final right here for you to look at so you can kind of follow that, or you can do your own thing. But I have these, and then I'm using my clean brush to kind of blend them out to where you can see that there's shadows, but for the most part it's pretty clean. Not all the way white, but it's lighter. And that goes all the way over here. Using a clean brush to drag that color out a little bit. Awesome. So now we're gonna come in and do that darker side again with some more, like a darker gray. So I'm grabbing black, mixing it out a little bit, adding a little bit of purple and that brown. So purple, brown, black. Okay. And it's really rocky. So like the bulk of that darkness is right here where I have drawn out. So I'm just kind of bringing that all the way up. But I'm also leaving some space for that base color to show through. And then as it moves over, I'm cleaning my brush, dabbing it off, and using the tip to kind of let that darkness flow over, but it's still like of that same shade, but it's still lighter. Coming over here to the top, just like that. And this will kind of move down here as well. And it's really not a huge like harsh line where I have it. It just kind of that shows where the gradient is. So where it shifts. So you can even bring it over a little bit more and then use these darker parts for the little shaded areas. Just like this. Awesome. Okay, and I am gonna grab some white and kind of drop some a little bit on here. And I know it's not showing up white, but it is adding a little bit of like a muddy feel to those areas. And I like that. Okay. Awesome. So I think what we're gonna do next is this orange area. This is all like the sulfur, the water or whatever. And how we're gonna do that is you're gonna have a clean brush of water. We've done this in past ones, but we're filling it in. And you wanna leave that foreground dry as best you can. All right, so just so you know, this is my first time doing this painting. So we're trying this out together. So let's hope for the best. I imagine it's gonna be very similar to the techniques that we did in the sky. And that we've done in past things. So we have our water here. And first thing is there's yellow that's pretty deep. So I think we're actually gonna use this yellow on this side. First. And we're going to drop it in. This whole side is on the yellow and orange side. So this just gives you more time to let those colors work together. It also gives you a really beautiful wet on wet technique. It'll give you some fun textures. So I'm coming around, this line is kind of where the yellow and the orange stop. So I'm coming right up to this buffalo, just like this. And it goes all the way around into here. It doesn't go yellow all the way up into it. So I'm leaving a little bit of that. Okay, now we're grabbing some of this orange, and I'm mixing a little bit of the brown and red into it, because I do feel like it's a deeper. Yeah, see how this is like, it's starting to make some fun textures? We're here for that. Dropping it in. I'm just going where the darker, where you're seeing this color. Okay, and then this is becoming like a brick red. It's really deep. Like more on the brown side almost. So I'm grabbing that, bringing it in. Okay, and then it starts to look a little bit gray, so I'm grabbing some gray. Mixing it in with this, what we have. See how fun these are? Okay, and then it does turn back orange over here. So there we go. If you have alcohol, I don't know how well it will do. I want to try it out, but it would be really cool because there's like fun gas bubbles over here. And so it'd be fun to try and like drop little parts in to just get that fun texture. Yeah, so I think would be cool. I think this does have a more darker border. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna let that settle before we work on any of up here. And so we can do this little cloud. Same thing as the one up here, we're using the blue. If you're running out of space, you can use the other side of your palette or just take one of these off. But I'm just kind of doing some dabbing motions to show that this is fog, steam. Just like that. We could even do a little bit more here. Add some colors in, and then we could do our brown too for our stem or our trunks. Just using the tip of your brush, and like do some small ones. All right, so let's make our yellow. I'm gonna clean my palette off so that we have some room for the yellows for the flowers and the browns for the buffalo. I'm gonna leave those greens for the leaves. Okay, I'm just grabbing this yellow. These are pretty vibrant, but I did put a good amount of water in, and kind of just doing like little stars almost. No detail, just kind of random little flowers, and they can bunch together. Actually, they really do bunch together quite a bit, but you can still see a little bit or make out small areas where there's flowers. And if you didn't want to do flowers and you just wanted to do like green bushes, you totally could do that. And as it gets further away, you could even just do like dabbing. That'll give you the same effect. Okay, so while that dries, we can start on our browns. So we have one up here. Adding some of this yellow because the base color of this buffalo has a yellow tone to it. Okay, so I'm leaving tiny bits of white parts and filling in most of it, but I'm being pretty loose. And you want to make sure you're getting pretty close to that color, but you're not bleeding into each other very much, because you don't want your buffalo and the geyser to blend together too much. Okay, I'm really kind of just spreading this same color all over. Maybe a little bit down here. And around the eyes. And ears. If you have some left over, you can come and bring it over to the calf. And I'm just kind of filling him in a lot more smooth because it doesn't have the amount of hair that the older buffalo, the mom buffalo has. There we go. Okay, so now we can grab a darker brown that we can make. So we have really red shade. We don't really have a dark shade of brown in this palette. So we're using this red, and then you could drop in some black. Or if you don't like adding black, you can put blue into it and it will do very similar. Or both. Make some really pretty colors. So I have it kind of marked out where the really shaded parts of this buffalo are. So we're doing that right now. Just kind of like doing a scrubble. Is that what is that the right term? Just like this to show that it's fluffy. And it comes up into the side of it, just like this. Under here is just, it's the same, very similar, but it's just a little bit lighter than that crack or that crevice area here. And then we do have that dark hair coming up on the head. Same color, a little bit more water. And you can come in and do some fun textures here too. Back leg comes around. And I'm adding some gray, or just grabbing straight gray, coming in, doing the horns. Everything on the buffalo kind of blends together, so it's kind of hard to make a whole lot of contrast. I'm trying to figure out how to do that, so we're gonna figure that out together. I'm hoping adding a little bit of black into our brown to get those really dark areas. Okay. I'm coming in with a clean brush and kind of like scruffing up these to where there's not a whole bunch of like harsh lines. It just shows that it's more on the fluffy side. Okay, and now now we're going to, this calf has some orange. This side is more shaded from the mama, I believe. All right, now we're gonna come in and do the greens for the leaves. And I'm just doing like just a bunch of tall grass, really. And it can go up and on top. This is our base green. So I'm just doing a bunch of fun, vertical, organic grass. And then we'll come in and do some leaves. Can bring the green up into the flowers a little bit if you wanted to, if you left some space. Just doing some really organic, random strokes. Okay. Now you can grab your darker green and just do like random dots for the leaves. Okay, while that dries, we can work on the little seeds in the flowers, which is gonna be like this orange brown anyways. So you're just gonna do some random dots to show that there's like head of the flowers all over. But they're tiny and we don't want to have like a huge pattern to it either. And you could even grab another shade of yellow and do more just like little petal looking things. It's random. There we go. And it's looking really pretty. If you're wanting more greens in the foreground, you can do more. I'm just doing little leaves, dropping in random colors or shapes. Okay, I think we're done. This looks awesome. I hope you're proud of what you did. If you do want to add like a little bit of fog, you could grab like over the water, you could grab a white, dilute it down quite a bit if this is dry, and just kind of run it over. See how that adds just like a little bit of muddiness? I see that here. I see it over here a little bit. A little bit over here too. Cool. I even see it a little bit around the edges. I hope you're proud of what you painted. This is so fun. Thanks for joining me. I will see you next time for Yosemite. It's gonna be so fun.